My boy. Harrison. You can come over here. He was reading, though.
It doesn't matter. Listen.
But who's that? Is Harrison?
Happy birthday, Harrison.
You guys did that for my birthday?
Well, that was actually for the Nuggets championship, but I just thought it was a good clip. What is everybody? Welcome to the DNVR show.
Let's go.
Birthday edition of the show for the birthday boy. How old are you now? You want to share that?
23. It's my Jordan year.
Jordan.
Yeah, can't wait.
Man. You look terrible.
It's going to be a good...
Just kidding. I know. It's a rough 23, man.
That is true. That clip makes me happy every time.
It's a great clip, man.
It was a great vibe. The bar
We
was
talk
pop-
about vibes a lot. That's the highest they've ever been.
Dude, I'm telling you, somebody commented on that show. I've never seen vibes like these.
Yeah.
It's true.
Well, we've
was
never
incredible.
felt them.
We'd never.
Yeah, I can't bring myself to go back and watch, but I think
Really?
at some point in time I will.
Oh, you have to, man. It's so good. Guys, on today's show, that's old stuff. On today's show, we're turning a new page. We're looking ahead today to the next series, the Minnesota Timberwolves. We did it a little bit last game, but we're going to talk about, well, I guess I lied. We're going to look back at last year's series real quickly and just talk about what happened. But we're also going to play a game, fill in the blank, and also ask what's more likely as we try to look at what we expect of the series and start to make our predictions for it. To help me out, I got Brendan Vogt.
Man, Harrison's birthday, it's more fun than my birthday. I actually didn't know it was Harrison's birthday, but I'm very happy for him. I'm very happy for him, and I'm happy to celebrate with him by doing another show.
Yeah.
Happy birthday, Harrison.
Thank you so much.
You're welcome.
Over here, the Ram himself, D-Line Co.
That's right. As I put in the Slack, I was not aware that Harrison was born. I thought he was gifted to us upon a golden gust of wind, and he was delivered to us
Immaculate conception.
like the homunculus baby Jesus. He arrived, and everything's been great since.
I like a golden dust of wind, though. That part I do feel is a great origin story for Wind's arrival. And then, of course, the birthday boy himself.
I've
Harrison
gotten
Wind.
no presents yet from anybody.
Oh, that
We did the clip.
Those
Yeah, what are you
flowery
talking
words.
about?
That me saying something nice about you was a present.
Yeah,
Fair. My birthday was last week. Also got it.
yeah.
We
I got you guys the same thing.
And I'm sure that we insulted Kale the whole time.
Yeah.
I know.
But I
Did
bet
we
they were
even
good
acknowledge
insults.
it?
I hope not. We got time to fill.
We're just a couple days away now. It's Wednesday. We're a couple days away from round 2. I imagine Yokes enjoyed his pool time. Hopefully Jamal Murray's legs are healed. I'm hoping all of those things are happening. No Nuggets practice today. I was a little bit surprised by that.
Pool time.
They gotta stay off their feet, man.
It is entirely possible Malone made some calls yesterday and was like, how are we feeling? They're all like, terrible. He's like, all right.
I mean, I'm
Another
sure
day off.
guys were in the facility. I'm sure they were there, but nothing formal, you know.
They've had to talk to us a lot lately.
This is the thing is, if it's not an official practice, you don't have to talk to media. So they probably had an official, unofficial practice.
It's a great week to hit guys up and be like, if you want to come in, come in and get some work in.
Yeah.
And then enough guys happen to show up.
It's probably more of those ones. If you want to come in, everyone's coming in.
Everyone's coming in.
Everyone's coming
Well,
in.
is
if
it
you
like
want
the
to.
involuntary workouts in the NFL?
You're right. The
If you
involuntary.
want
If
Come
you
in.
don't show up to an involuntary
Not only-
workout,
yeah.
you're probably getting cut.
Not only is it
or
bad-
you're just like your best player on the team.
Yeah, not only is it bad, but it'll be reported on the news.
He skipped involuntary workouts?
Yeah.
Like,
So he skipped voluntary
voluntary
No.
workouts? What's going on?
Yeah, actually, but this is the perfect time. I took a break and I went to the zoo today.
You went to the zoo?
Yep.
Bro,
Today?
I love
Yep.
the zoo. Did you see Jokic?
No,
that's
I
the
actually,
second
one. I've
no
run
joke,
into
looked
him at
around.
the zoo.
I looked around for him.
He loves the zoo, and
am.
there's always stories of Jokic at the zoo.
Yeah.
So if you're ever in Denver and just want to try to find Jokic,
I kind of wanted to find it, but I was actually looking for the animals.
What stood out to you? I love the zoo.
The giraffes are always.
I have not been to that
Featured
zoo. I've
attraction.
not been to that zoo meaningfully in well over a decade.
It's lost its luster, man.
not for me, no, because I've not
for me.
seen the. Well, I haven't seen
Do you
like.
not think you've just gotten a little older?
No. They
Cheyenne
have.
Mountain Zoo is phenomenal. That one
They
is like,
have
I thought
absolutely.
you were talking Denver
oh my
Zoo.
god! No, they like have the new elephant thing. I haven't seen any of this stuff. Like it's really
you
a
haven't
lot
been
different.
since they've had that elephant.
I haven't been in
Wow.
it for a decade.
Wow. Did you see the clouded leopard right by it?
Yes, he was hanging out in his he was hidden.
Isn't that a pretty animal?
His paws looked fine.
Oh, that's all you saw. Did you guys watch? I love the zoo. We could talk about it all day. Did
Isn't
you
it
guys
crazy how the peacocks just roam around?
this time of year? By the
They're
way,
not
that
there.
they do.
They weren't. They
there.
weren't out.
That's
today.
always been wild.
They were
probably-
not today.
They're
probably
just
didn't
chilling.
spot 'em.
See what
They're not
Adam's
there.
ready to move on. You mentioned one bird. He's
You know what
right
else
back
is
in.
doing
This is the time of the year where they're trying to show off. They're doing their little lek dance.
Dude,
So
they're,
are the wild turkeys that we saw in Rocky Mountain.
they're doing the
Tried to
Jamal
tell
Murray,
them, didn't I?
man. They're doing the Jamal Murray.
It
They're
surely is.
strutting.
Did you guys watch hoops last night? That Knicks Sixers game was wild. The Knicks blew it. 6-point lead with 25 seconds left.
I mean, there's
Or
never been a
35.
better time to be in a group text with New York sports fans.
Oh man,
Absolutely. If you guys think Nuggets fans melt down, you should see a Knicks fan during that 5 minutes of their life. It is unbelievable.
we've been talking about this with Denver. Like Denver won that series in 5, but it felt like if they would have lost Game 5, especially if you collapsed, you would not feel good at all about the series.
Yeah.
The Knicks have won this series. But they collapsed and gave a game, and now I'm
Oh,
watching
yeah.
it, and I'm like, bro, if
no-
I'm a Knicks fan, I'm panicked.
Well, the one thing is that the Sixers did this. The Knicks did this exact thing to the Sixers.
Yeah.
They beat them in the last 5 seconds in a miraculous fashion.
So it evened out?
And so the notion of momentum in the playoffs is a bit overstated.
I don't think people were making a big enough deal about how big of a choke that was.
It was an enormous
To
choke.
me, it was like less of a choke in the fact that it was more that Maxey just went insane.
No,
But they
dude,
were
they
down- but they were
fouled him
6.
on the 3. That was the
Well,
play.
They were
I
up
know,
6.
but-
The one shot, you should be one shot proof. They ended up giving up 2 to Harrison's point
But they're
because
deep.
of it.
They were deep. It's like at a certain point, you're like, good God, tip your hat.
And
man.
then they didn't foul him on the 3, but the Mitchell Robinson foul was
That's
like
the
the
one.
bigger one to me.
It was
You
terrible,
let him
man.
shoot that, honestly.
So they're back in the series. The Eastern Conference is kind of funny in that way, man. The Bucks down their 2 best players somehow get a win against the Pacers. I love the Pacers. I have to. Are you going to get into
No,
it?
you do it. You do it.
Are you sure?
I love the Pacers too. I want to love the Pacers. That was some deeply unserious stuff.
Why do we love the Pacers?
Because they're not scary.
You know
enough.
why?
Yeah.
No,
they
you-
have one fun player.
They're
But
harmless.
here's the thing,
I
and
know
that's what I
why.
was going to get to.
I know why.
Halliburton, he glue up too fast, man. He
Yeah.
kind of, I love him, man. I want to like him, but
The
not that good. Like, you know what I mean? He had a good 2-month run.
the Sixers benefited from the in-season tournament. They had a good
Pacers?
showing. Yes, the
yeah.
Pacers. Excuse me.
Yeah.
The Pacers had a good in-season showing, and everyone fell in love with Halliburton.
Yeah,
like everyone's like,
exactly.
"Oh, this is the guy."
and he hasn't
I
been
love
that
this
guy since. I mean, he did get hurt, too.
I love his shot. I know it's ugly, but it's
Yeah, but he
it's
fell
pure.
off from all NBA level to like fringe all star.
Because he was actually all NBA level.
real quick,
For
yeah.
a while. For 2 months. But that's the thing about the NBA. And this is why when everyone wants to shorten the season and everything, I'm like, there's a skill to being good 82 times. That's its own skill. And some guys have it, and some guys don't. But I love Halliburton. I just am so deeply unimpressed. And then my poor Magic go down because they can't. They have the worst clutch offense in
Brother,
the
I've
history
been
of
keyed in
basketball.
on that all serious because you've been,
I love them so much, but they are hard to watch.
bro. Paolo he's a great player. He takes some horseshit shots, man. Some of those down the stretch were like, how is there a head coach of this team? And I like their coach a lot, but what are you guys doing?
Well, they don't have options. That's the thing. Is
I
like
know.
you get the ball popping to get open shots, but who are you getting open shots to? Guys that can't make them. So it's like, don't even get the ball popping. Just
I know.
ISO and shoot up.
But
a
it was like
terrible
the
one.
Jason Tatum school of don't care what the shot clock says, you know?
Yeah, they could
I'm
be
not
better
ashamed
at
to say it. I haven't watched a minute of that series.
I know, dude.
Magic
You
Cavs.
gotta have some time for you, dude.
Dude, I love the Magic. I love
You do love the Magic because you
Jalen
dug your
Suggs is so-
talons into.
I feel like at a certain point
Jalen Suggs
this
is one of
year,
my guys this
Adam
year.
has
Front-
loved every team.
No way.
He loves the
Oh,
NBA.
he's a national
Come
analyst.
on.
I feel like
man.
you've been kind of running laps here.
No
He's
way.
a national guy now,
No
dude.
way.
Yeah.
You had
I've
a
never
phase
liked the
where you
Cavs.
loved the
I've never liked the
Pelicans,
Cavs.
the
Well, that's fair.
Magic, the Pacers, the Mavs.
It's because you're keyed in, bro. It's because
Yeah.
you're keyed in, but you're too
You know what
keyed
it
in.
is? I love guys like Jalen Suggs, man. I love winning players. He's such a winner, and I root for him.
And how about, by the way, Gary Harris is still playing basketball.
I know.
Which kind of same thing, by the way, as the end of the Denver days. His defense locked down his offense
I know.
Not starter level right now.
I know, it's wild.
Not starter level.
That's the rundown from the games. I wanted to talk about last year. How well do you remember the Nuggets Wolves series last year? Like how? I feel like I remember every detail of the Lakers series.
Yeah. Not super. I feel like I remember the ends of the games maybe more than up front. But I mostly remember it for Denver kind of waiting till it was a bit too late in that one loss in Minnesota and almost winning it anyway.
Dude, it was the exact game that they had at Game 4 against the Lakers.
Yes, and it was Jokic and Mike that time, and they were just balling out. Mike had a good series. It wasn't as consistently good as the Lakers one, but he had a couple of pops. Of course, that's what I remember. I'm a caricature of myself, and we can keep it moving.
It was funny. No, but it's a good note.
Yeah.
I do love that. All I really remember is Mike.
Michael Porter, that step back jumper at the 7-minute mark in the third quarter of Game 3.
He's like, do you remember that when Mike ran his fingers through his hair in that one timeout?
How he looked in the locker room.
How well do you remember that series?
Not well. I have just the feeling of frustration and relief from that series.
Yeah.
Like it felt a lot like this Lakers series in that it was like, man, I can't believe that it was as difficult for them as it was, but they did get past them and they only lost a game. And I was expecting them to roll a little bit more. And then they rolled after that.
It had the feeling of, if they didn't win Game 5 and it was a nail biter, it would have gone to Game 6 in Minneapolis and they would have had all this momentum and like, oh my God, now the series is in doubt.
Yep.
Which is exactly how you felt with the Lakers. Like
Yes,
if you don't
exactly.
win Game 5, now you have to go on the road, and we think they'll win every game, the Nuggets, against the Lakers, but if you lost at home and then have to go on the road, it just felt uncomfortable. So that's why I honestly feel like this series reflected that one. But let's go. I made some notes here in preparation. Game 1 was a Denver blowout in the second and third quarter. They open up a 10-point lead in the second quarter, and then they blow them out in the third quarter, and they win by 29 points. How dominant was it? Jokic had just 13 points.
It's funny because I have one of my few memories from this series is from Game 1. And it's Jokic scoring on Gobert and grinning as he's running back down the floor.
Great pull.
And that's when I knew the series was probably over.
Game 1?
This was in Game 1.
Wow.
You don't remember this? Jokic had the little, I think it was like a little up and under scoop on Gobert, runs down the floor with a huge ass smile on his face.
Great call, Wind.
That was Game 1 for me.
We'll get into this, but Minnesota also at 8 seed, coming through 2 play-in games to get there. Denver had an enormous rest advantage. We weren't sure about Denver because they hadn't been playing well, and that was a game where it was like, I honestly think Minnesota was a little fatigued and the high of making the play, how it all happened was like a little bit different. So I think that was part of it. Game 2 was a Murray 40 piece. It was also an Anthony Edwards 40 piece. And the Nuggets outscored, were outscored in the third quarter 40-23. So Denver, Game 2 actually had the same script. Nuggets off to the races, dominating it, and you're like, this is going to be the easiest series ever. And I actually think that's what it was. But Denver had such an atrocious third quarter that they got outscored 40-23, which made that game a nail biter. Mm-hmm. But Denver won the first, won the second, won the fourth, and got outscored by 17 in the third.
Yeah.
I went back and watched Jamal Murray's buckets in this game this morning. He looked incredible, man. Like, he looked unbelievable. How quick he was, how athletic he was, how much space he was generating between him and the defender. He looked unreal in that game too, in that 40-point game. He doesn't look like that right now. I'll just say that.
Is it accurate that in Game 1, too, there was a little bit of he struggled with their defenders, and we talked about it, and then in Game 2, he came out and scored 40?
Yeah, I seem to remember that. I remember Nickeil Alexander-Walker being a focus.
That was after Game 2.
I was going to say
heading
Game
into
3
Game
is when they swapped it.
Okay, yeah.
And so Games 1 and 2 felt like Denver blowouts. Even though Game 2 wasn't a blowout, they had a blowout in the game and then blew it. So you kind of felt like, okay, this is Denver's series to lose. But to Wynn's point, that's when they made the adjustment and said, Nickeil, you're our guy. You're going to go all out on Murray.
That's right.
And games 3, 4, and 5 were all dogfights. Game 3, hard-fought win, close all game. But Denver comes out victorious in large part because of the clutch. Game 4 went to overtime.
Yep.
And Denver came back to push it to overtime. You were talking about this where it did not feel like Denver had the sense of it. We were wondering at that time if Denver could ever sweep a team. Because we're like, they played exactly like they did against the Lakers in Game 4, where you're like, they were going to see if they could get away with a B- effort and win. and they wouldn't. And then in the fourth quarter, they made a run, and you're like, well, maybe they can. And they get to overtime, and when it went to overtime, I just remember thinking, they're going to win this game. They did it. I can't believe they were able to like half-ass their way to a sweep, and then they didn't. And it was a little jarring to be like, wow, that's weird. The script said that they won in overtime, and what's going on here?
It is hilarious, like what it takes to knock somebody off their like confidence perch in the playoffs. Like you feel like you lose one game or anything, and it's like, well, that's the beginning of the end. I know how this goes.
Totally.
Nug life is dark and the winter is long.
Totally.
Like-
It's like the Knicks fans. I was like, there's still a world where you win one game against this team and then you play the Pacers. You know? But for them, it's like you're up 3-2, but you just blew that game, and it's, well, there's simply no way we'll ever win again.
Right.
You know?
Yeah, right now, but they won that game.
They won that.
Well, the ultimate one of that, if you want to know the truth, is Game 3 against the Pacers in 2019. Quadruple overtime, and Denver lost it. And I was like, damn, they're going to lose every game from here. You can't recover. Then they won Game 4.
Right.
Are you talking about
Playoffs are
versus
hilarious.
Portland?
Versus
the Blazers?
Portland,
Yeah.
when they played
Portland,
4 overtimes and lost, and you were
Right.
like, there's no recovery for Jokic.
Yeah, we always, you've mentioned it, you brought it up. I'll forever see that ball going off the tips of Jamal Murray's fingers in that 4
Replay,
overtime
right?
game. The 4, yeah, it's
Oh,
when
I
it just,
know.
it looked very obvious that Dame had knocked it out.
'Cause he did.
And then on replay, Jamal Murray's fingertips happened to be in contact with it right before it went out of bounds, and then they got the
Brutal.
ball and we lost.
But then Game 5 was a dogfight. Jokic and Murray both had great games. You needed them to close it out. Murray took over late, and I remember being a little worried about Jokic late because he wasn't like closing, but then he closed with the final 5 points. And that's the smirk I remember, Wind, because he scores on Gobert in the post and has a smirk to him. I think he thought he was fouled and he didn't get the call. It was tied with 1 minute to go. Jokic gets that shot, and then they come down, and I think he receives a pass from the top of the key. Shot fakes, gets Gobert in the air, and finishes and one, kind of like he did to Anthony Davis in that series. Gets the and one, and he had the biggest shit-eating grin he's ever had in his life. Because you were talking about he had a smirk. This one finished the series, an and one that was going to put him up 5 with like 20 seconds left, and he had the look of like, I own this fool. It was actually pretty hilarious. But nonetheless, nail biter that came down to the wire. Tie game with 1 minute to go. Denver executed.
Yeah, and I think that's going to be a huge storyline for me in this series, the clutch.
Yeah.
What do the Nuggets
Of course.
look like? What do the Timberwolves look like? What does Anthony Edwards look like?
And the regular season games, which again, as we know well in Denver, do not directly translate to playoff series. Wolves fans know that well. They just swept the Suns. But in the regular season, Anthony Edwards was unguardable for 3 quarters just about every time. And in the fourth quarter, he either ran out of gas / Denver figured it out, however you want to look at it. And the obvious question was, he's a better basketball player than this, but can his sort of like ego first willpower offense burst through the wall enough times with enough consistency to match what Jokic and Jamal can get on the other end? And so far the answer's been no. In the games that go to the clutch, some of these games, but he just looked great in that last series. I think he's a better player than he was last year. So we'll see. We'll see how it plays out.
We'll get into some of this clutch stuff here in a minute. Let's take our first break. That's reliving last year and some quick hitters. But on the other side, we're going to start playing fill in the blank.
Oh, man.
Fill in the blank about
Is
this.
this going to be
series.
Mad Libs?
Kind of is.
Glizzy.
Okay, perfect. Give me an adverb.
Glizzy year.
A glizzier glizzy.
Guys, you know who's back? Shady
to the tall
Rays.
man.
Let's go.
Is back
need new
here
ones.
on the DNVR Nuggets podcast because I don't know if you guys have looked outside. The weather, it's heating up.
Oh, it's zoo weather, I'll tell you that much right now.
Wait, did you go by yourself?
Are you asking if I went as an adult man and went to the zoo by myself, a bunch,
Yeah.
bunch of children?
Yeah.
I'm
Is that
asking
what
this
happened?
exact question.
Is that what happened?
You don't
I
have
mean-
to answer it. I'm just asking.
I mean, what kind of question is that?
That is interesting.
What kind of question is that?
Of course he did.
Anyway, the sun's out in Denver. Look, it's about to be summer. Weather's great. You need Shady Rays. They're an independent sunglass company offering a world-class product rated 5 stars by over 300,000 people. Go on to shadyrays.com. They have tons of options, tons of different styles, colors, shapes, sizes, whatever you need. Shady Rays has it. I have like 5 pairs of Shady Rays by now.
they're great.
They've been gracious enough to hook us up with some free ones, I will say. But I've also bought some as well. Great product. Highly recommend it. They're also giving DNVR listeners 35% off polarized sunglasses, exclusive for DNVR listeners. It's their best deal of the season. Go to shadyrays.com. Use the code DNVR. 35% off polarized sunglasses. Try for yourself. The shades rated 5 stars by 300,000 people.
I could have used some Shady Rays today. I feel
At
a
the
little.
zoo?
I feel a little overexposed.
Direct contact with the animals.
Interesting. So the children there.
Yeah, I was
felt
gonna
the
say,
same way
completes
about
the
you.
look.
You
Yeah.
didn't want to look the giraffe in his eye.
Do you trust the
was a good
giraffe
one, Adam.
enough to look him in the eye? I never would.
We drowned you out. This is a good one. Yeah, it's sunny in Vegas too. You might want to bring those Shady Rays to Circa Resort and Casino, where you can take the playoff plunge at Circa Stadium Swim to watch your favorite teams during the playoffs. Use code DNVR at checkout, get 20% off. That's DNVR 20, excuse me. DNVR 20 for 20% off. And you'll be hanging out at Vegas's first ever adults only casino and resort. Hanging out with the world's largest sports book with a dope casino and, of course, Stadium Swim. The sun's out, the gun's out can be as well.
Oh my god, dude! How dope was Stadium Swim during the shot, the Hail Murray,
Oh my gosh.
just splashing about?
You know what, though?
Like a child.
Cannonball.
So close to LA, it's probably getting out of Laker fans.
Yeah, it's just,
Oh, for
and you're
sure.
just, you're doing a
in the pool.
cannonball. You're doing the can opener. Everyone's pissed at you. You don't care.
Yeah, that's so true.
One guy that's like, go Nuggets! Okay. Experience Stadium Swim and watch your favorite teams at Circa Resort and Casino. Book your stay with code DNVR. You get 20% off. How neat is that?
Pretty neat.
I think it's very neat. By the way, I just see this coming from Kellen Olson. Just to share, just as an aside. Matt Ishbia stated, everyone thinks the house is burning. Incorrect. And then he adds, the Suns have draft picks that they can still trade. I love the idea of like they've irresponsibly traded away all of their draft picks. And he's like, guys, we still have more that we can trade.
They have pick swaps in every other year.
Yeah.
So they still have a first. Yeah, it's true. They can continue to burn first round draft picks.
But it's almost like someone saying, like, you've spent all your savings. You're like, no, I still have more savings I'm planning to spend.
Yeah, I'm going to buy more booze
no,
with
it's
that.
you're
What do you
saying.
mean?
Yes, I spent all my savings, but I have this credit card.
I have this credit card I can tap into anytime. It's great. All right. Let's play a little fill in the blank, shall we, Kel?
Yes, sir.
Let's
All right.
do it.
Fill in the blank. Nuggets fans are going to hate
Oh, it's a great question.
blank.
Oh,
Great
easy
question.
question.
Who is it?
Anthony Edwards.
Really? He's so
Yes.
charismatic, though.
Yeah, unless he's doing the crotch
right, yeah.
chop to you directly,
Yeah.
you just ruined your night.
It's not Anthony Edwards, Dean Lynn.
I don't think so either.
It's Jaden McDaniels.
Oh,
Interesting.
Jaden McDaniels is the Wolves' instigator. Anthony Edwards does some of that too, but Jaden McDaniels was trying to fight the Phoenix Suns last series. Like, he is a bulldog. He's a great defender. He's an aggressive player. He will try to get into the heads of the Nuggets, I feel. That's one of my predictions for this series. Like, Jaden McDaniels will try to mix it up with Nuggets players.
I hate him already.
Jaden McDaniels has been the guy who has come out and said, we love this matchup. Like,
He has?
again, it's not, I don't think, beating your chest or this or that, but he's been the guy that has come out and been like, we think this is a good matchup for him. We love how we
Interesting.
match up with this team. He's like young enough and brash enough to have that, and I think he carries himself that way as well.
I think that's the right answer as far as the sort of emotional villain part of it. I do think Nickeil Alexander-Walker is going to hit 5 to 6 threes that Nuggets fans are
With that
like,
ugly ass shot.
yes.
No.
And if you're like,
I already hate
and
him.
I don't mean this to sound a lot in any type of way, just in the case that you in fact have not been watching Nickeil Alexander-Walker, you're going to lose your GD mind when those shots are falling. And when they're back-breaking threes to like on a run or something, you're going to think, how is that going in?
Yeah.
They're going to go in a couple times. So I think he's a candidate for the unpleasant surprise factor.
I like the Nickeil pick. I like the Jaden pick. I think both of those work. Ant is the guy that's going to be killing. I don't know how much Nuggets fans will hate him. We'll find out. You do like a player until he's killing your team.
Not till he's killing your team. So he's talking shit to you while he's doing it.
If he does that celebration, though,
That's what I'm saying. We'll be like
in Denver,
We'll be like,
he might have a
"Ah,
problem.
Wait a minute, line in the sand.
Totally turn on that guy and hate him. Is there any chance we hate Monte Morris?
No. Unhateable.
Unfortunately, there's a huge chance the Nuggets target Monte Morris over and over and over.
I don't know how much he plays. You know, like,
Unhateable.
I don't know how much he'll play.
He's,
but
in the
if-
Reggie,
but if-
he's in the Reggie Jackson role.
yeah, but if he does literally anything well,
Yeah, but you'll be like,
Not gonna hate him.
You'll be like, damn. All right, Monte.
Miss that guy.
all right.
Yeah.
I knew he could do that.
Yeah. If he like comes out and he's like, I hate that Syrian Jokovic. Then I'd be like, man, screw that guy. It didn't mean anything to him.
Right. It's like if Gary scored 15 points against you, you'd be like, man, I'm glad his shot looked good tonight.
He comes out with a cat can do anything Yoke does.
Yeah.
And you're like, all right, that's it. Kill Monte. Kill that man. Is it possible we hate A-Rod or Mike Lowry? They've been sitting courtside.
No.
They've been sitting courtside.
I mean,
It's not even
listen,
owners of the
I
team.
kind of already hate them. So
but they can't. They're comic. They're like
They're
comically.
great characters.
Yeah, they're comically powerless. Like they're just the
first
idiots
mediation session was reportedly today.
that they
Between them and Glenn
they're
Taylor.
the two idiots that bungled the deal.
I'm gonna guess that nothing got mediated.
I need an A-Rod camera. They don't need to show us the whole thing, just an A-Rod cam during those
Oh,
mediations.
dude, he's gonna be so like oiled up and stuff.
Yeah.
Oh god, dude, he's gonna be
suit every game.
He's gonna be shiny. Oh
All right,
man.
this one's tough, but I want you to think very deeply.
Okay.
Last year, if you recall, Tim Conley did media availability, and it so happened to be at the exact time that the Nuggets were doing on their side. Is there any chance Tim Conley becomes a villain here?
No, you're out of your mind.
I knew your answer would be.
I don't think he can.
Well,
He's too likable.
he is too likable and he's too polished, this or that. But this has to be personal for him.
Yeah, but
This has to be personal.
But he's gonna say like the most gracious thing in the world. He's gonna like, dude. There's no chance.
Not,
Do you think- do you
not
think-
everyone has our perspective on Tim.
I'm trying to
Whether
step
it's
outside
fair or
ourselves.
not, whether it's fair or
Trying to
not,
step
I do
outside
think there's
ourselves.
going to be a little bit of man. He went over there, huh? And like, if the Wolves look great in this series, I don't want to say it out loud. Let's say worst case scenario happens. There's going to be a handful of people that'll be very quick to just deem Tim a villain for skipping town and building the
I don't know,
competition.
dude. To me, that falls back on Calvin. Like Calvin will start to get hate if Tim does well. If the Wolves
That's an
do well.
interesting.
Not Josh.
Both.
Yeah. All right, next question. Blank will be the Nuggets' top scorer. Blank will be the Nuggets' top
Miroslav,
scorer.
what do you think?
The rule of Miroslav
skip
applies to
this
this?
I think
Is
that
there
the
any
rule-
way it's not Nikola Jokic?
Yes.
I mean, what would have to happen for it not to be him?
was he the leading
Jamal
scorer
Murray, Jamal Murray
Yeah.
scores.
of the last Wolves?
He almost
playoffs?
was. Oh, the last Wolves.
That's a good
one.
question,
That's
actually.
a great question.
Going
Because
right now to
I
find
remember
out.
him being a little bit hobbled offensively by the two
The wrist,
Twin
I think,
Towers.
was a storyline.
The wrist was a
Murray led in scoring last year, 27.5. Yoke, 26.5.
Great pull D line.
Thanks, bro. So
It's possible. I'm going to say Jokic though.
Yeah, I'll have to say Jokic.
right, I mean, how rested are Jamal Murray's legs going to be after this time?
The Wolves also didn't have Jaden McDaniels last time.
Did not have Jaden McDaniels. Does that hurt Mike or does that hurt Jamal?
I think it hurts Jamal more.
Well, the other thing is-
hurt is it's his
did-
hurdle. I think.
Does he? I feel like he's going to match up on Mike a lot. They're like similarly sized.
He will. Oh, absolutely. Play
Yeah,
both
throughout
of
the
them.
game. Yeah.
Murray, just to be clear, in that series had a 24-point game in game 1, 40 in game 2, 18 and
He owes us a
19
40
and 3 and
he
4.
owes us a 40
and then
point game.
35 in the closeout game. So he had two great games, 40 and 35. He had two under 20 games,
Right.
which is noteworthy. And again, those were the Nikhil Alexander-Walker adjustment games, and then eventually he obviously overcame it, put 35 up. But it's at least noteworthy that even though he scored a lot, it mostly came in 2 games.
Yeah, I mean, it comes down to his health. I mean, my God, it's his legs. What else could it possibly be with talking about Jamal?
I think it's Jokic as well. Here's my big thing, man, because I am as worried as everybody else is about Jamal Murray's legs because he did not look quick. He did not look healthy. He didn't like this. But I'm telling you, these series are all so different.
I
They
know,
all take
they
on
are.
a different texture. And
Totally, man.
I think one of the number one things you do as an analyst that hurts you is you just assume they're all an extension of each other, and they're not.
At all.
They're completely different. And I
At
think
all.
there's a chance Murray looks great in this series. And even
Yeah.
even with a hobbled knee, he's just making the open shots that he missed
was
in
just
that
missing,
series.
right.
The knee maybe impacts it a little bit, but when he talks about getting a deeper gather and stuff, a lot of this is just figuring out how to adjust to whatever ail.
Yeah.
Yoke last series, by the way, was the wrist series. Remember? round one. The wrist swelled up.
Yeah,
He was
we were
wearing
just-
the tape the whole time.
Yeah.
All right, I'm going Jokic. He had 26 a game. with
Well,
all
he
the
also
rest.
just averaged 28 a game with the Lakers doubling him on the catch a
Yeah.
lot of times.
It's a great point.
It's a great
Timberwolves
point.
are not going to double him as much.
With
They-
Jamal
you don't
too-
think so? With those two big twin towers?
No.
With Jamal too, just seeing it go in, like he ended on a 30
Well,
point,
yeah.
32 point game.
The thing is this is a great question. It's not a double. It's more of a helper at the paint.
Right.
So it's like Yoke can't drive to the basket or can't spit. He's gonna have to be careful on how he posts up. But it's not like Gobert is stepping all the way over to double.
Right.
He's more walling off one half of the court.
And he's also like walling off Aaron Gordon.
And in one
They
of those,
do sometimes go all the
on
way,
the
though.
weak
in one of
side.
these late games in the regular season, we saw Yoke kind of like, rather than going to the middle and going to the help, the over the shoulder stuff, the fadeaways from the like he kind of started scoring going away from it. And so that's a good point though. It is different a little bit.
Next one. This will be a bad series for blank.
A-Rod.
I've got Aaron Gordon for this.
Chris
one.
Finch.
All right, say Aaron Gordon.
But let me clarify this because his job's just going to be different. It's like statistically, I think it may look like a not great series from Aaron Gordon because the Wolves are the first team, the originals, the Miller Lights, if you will, of making Aaron Gordon a shooter.
Nice.
And it's a big physical team, and even if Cat is not the most physical cat in the league, he is big. He's very, very big. And so that's still playing up for Aaron Gordon. And so I'll say statistically it's not a good series for AG. However, he can still do his job by defending well in a matchup that he's, not expected to thrive in.
Yeah.
Yeah, I know the right answer.
Did I just remind you of something? I'm so sorry. I thought it was great.
incredible.
I thought it was really good.
Yeah. Go ahead.
I know the right answer. I've seen it in the future.
Okay.
It's Rudith Gobert.
Taking this a new way.
Rudy Gobert will have a bad series. Rudy Gobert will be we will all come to the conclusion at the very end of this again that Rudy Gobert has no business even attempting to guard Nikola Jokic. He is going to, brother, I've got 47 him. He's going to make him look bad. The only thing that will help him, obviously, is Cat. But if you can get it so that Cat can't come on and to double Jokic or help side him, then he'll feast. I mean, this happens every time you get into a series with Rudy Gobert. Is it starts off good and then it gets bad by the end.
Yeah. The only thing about that is the pick and roll is such a big part of that. Like Yoke, if he just posts up Gobert,
He will.
That's only part of it.
Sure.
I'm saying, like, I don't know Yoke gets to 40 points on all post ups. You get to 40 points on Gobert by making him guard the post, making him guard the elbow, making him
Totally.
guard the
It also might be
switching
Cat
out.
guarding him primary assignment and then Gobert sagging off.
But this
of
always
Aaron
happens. At the
Gordon.
end, we are always like, man, that fool Rudy Gobert
Yeah.
cannot hold Jokic's jock every time.
Such a great expression.
I know. Do you think he wants to hold his jock?
Oh, nobody does.
I actually don't want to hold his jock.
Yeah, you're like, you can't
Harrison,
do that.
do you have a
Right.
nominee?
For who's going to have a bad series, KCP maybe. It's just a tough matchup against Anthony Edwards, and
Oh,
he's going to
great
be
pick.
their primary defender.
Great pick.
The Nuggets don't have a good matchup for Anthony Edwards, They're going to throw KCP at him, Aaron Gordon, Christian Brown, Peyton Watson. I don't think any of them are a great matchup on Edwards. And KCP, he's not strong enough, He's a little shorter than Edwards. It's just, it's a tough matchup, but he's got his work absolutely cut out for him.
Good pick.
He had moments, though, where he was like reasonably effective on LeBron James. As the series went on and LeBron got more and more physical, it became like he couldn't do it.
You're right, though.
He did.
But he could confuse him for a game or two.
If I had to pick somebody, it'd be KCP.
I think there's a chance KCP does not draw that assignment. And when I was watching just the clips of Anthony Edwards and how he scored against Denver this year, he did get that as sort of a primary assignment. But Ant targeted Murray a lot. They would always do the guard-to-guard action to get Murray switched out of him, which today's NBA is so easy to do. And he attacked him a lot. But he also attacked everybody. And I'm just so curious to see. I mean, we get Mike and try to go at him. So I'm very curious to see how Anthony Edwards approaches the series and what he tries to do. And I'm curious to see what Denver does. There's a chance that Denver, as the series evolves, puts KCP on like a Mike Conley, which, by the way, it sounds like that's not a big assignment. It is.
It totally is.
He is sort of their fulcrum. So if you can disrupt, even if you're not getting steals or shutting down scoring, if you can just make Anthony Edwards play point guard,
Yeah.
I think actually that wears on Anthony Edwards.
I agree with
I
you,
think
yeah.
Denver can benefit themselves by trying to wear on Anthony Edwards, attack him, see if you can get him in foul trouble, like just put him in a lot of actions, and then on the other end, force the ball into his hands. I know it's crazy to say force the ball into the other team's best hands, but it's like with Murray. If he has to dribble the ball up and initiate the offense and score, it's taxing over time.
And
I
we've
think-
seen it. We've seen his production wear off in this matchup over
Yeah.
time.
For me, I'm going to go with Reggie Jackson. I know, surprise, surprise. But
Damn, dude.
But here's why. One thing that is going to be different about this series than the previous one is they have a great stagger option. And Denver did not play without Jokic very often in the last series. I think the same is going to be true, especially as the series goes on. I think, Jokic will be playing a lot, but there's still going to be those minutes where there's no Jokic. And unlike the Lakers, they're going to be able to play Karl Anthony Towns, Naz Reid, and other guys who are capable, like Nickeil Alexander-Walker, as we're talking about. They're going to have an offense that can score, which means the bench will come more into focus. That last game, what did the bench have? Like 5 points?
Yeah.
And they won. And it's like, all right, well, we're not talking about it.
I think it was 8 with Reggie.
Eight points, and they're all Reggie, yeah. So this is a series where Reggie might have 7 points, 8 points, and the bench still got outscored 30-8 or 30-10, and we're like, man, these bench minutes are killing us because they're capable of doing that. So I'm going to go with Reggie. He's going to have to be dialed in and making shots.
How many peppers do you have for that?
-5.
Did you have that pulled up?
What I see happening is Reggie taking shots that you wish he wouldn't and missing some and making others.
Yeah, I feel like that's
But they
probably
come.
how it
But again,
goes.
if the other team is also doing the same, then I don't feel it. But if the other team's scoring every time, you're like, damn it, another timeout, 2 timeouts
Oh,
in one
yes.
stint.
Oh, yeah.
Dude,
No.
Reggie is indestructible, man. Like, I feel like he could get run over with a bus and he's still going to be questionable for next game.
Let's take
Love
a
that
quick break.
about
I
him.
got more
Iron
fill in the
Man.
blanks on the other side, including biggest advantages on each side.
Guys, check out the Pub Pass. If
Oh,
you
yeah.
like beer, if you drink a lot of beer in Denver, if you like craft beer, the Pub Pass is awesome. They have all these great deals on it. Buy one, get one, $1 free beers at more than 300 breweries and bars in the greater Denver area. You can get a 1-year subscription for half off using the promo code DNVR. That's a year of access to the best craft beer app in the country for about $2 a month. Download the Pub Pass now in the App Store or Google Play Store. Use code DNVR when you sign up. You can use the QR code on the screen as well. The deals refresh 30 days after you use them. So every month you get these same kind of deals. Just $5 a month, but with that code DNVR, you get it for $2 a month.
The what?
Check it out.
$2 a month?
There is some championship level competition going on in Ball Arena. Make yourself a denizen of the best spot in town to watch the best shows in town with the Game Time app. You don't have to have season tickets. In fact, you don't even have to have any kinds of tickets necessarily in your hands. You just need to check the Game Time app because there's a good chance that there are some great seats at some great prices. Especially when you use code DNVR, you'll get $20 off. And you can save up to 60% off by buying last minutes for these kinds of events. It doesn't have to be sports. It can be concerts. It can be comedy. It makes for great gifts for friends and family. And I love a spontaneous night out, right? At the show or the arena.
The zoo.
Where you just go. The zoo. Great example, Dylan, where it just hits you. I don't want to be inside anymore. Is this event still available? Are the seats still available? And with Game Time, they are. So download the Game Time app, create an account, use code DNVR for $20 off your first purchase. Terms apply. Again, create an account, redeem code DNVR for $20 off. Download Game Time today. Last minute tickets, lowest price guaranteed.
And we are back. If you guys are watching live, throw us a like right now. Help us grow the show. Leave a comment if you're watching it a little bit late. And check out thednvr.com. Consider becoming a member. These two gentlemen here always writing bangers, articles, and takeaways you're not going to want to miss. All right.
Can we parachute into the Suns presser real quick? Sorry.
Yeah, let's parachute again.
Can we go back in?
Let's please go back in.
Matt Ishbia on whether the Suns need a point guard.
Oh, no.
Most people will argue, and I think James and Frank will agree with this, you want the ball in the hands of those big three as much as
Oh,
possible.
God. I love going through something and learning nothing.
That's the best. Well, what he's learning is he went with his staff and was like, are we able to pivot? And they're like, no. It's like, all right, we
right,
have
cool.
to pretend this is our plan.
What do you guys think of Isaiah Thomas?
When
We
there's
can't
no
do this.
plan B, you have to act like plan A is.
Yeah.
Dude,
you know,
go
like,
get-
there's nothing wrong with plan A.
Screwed, man.
I know. Go get Tyus Jones, you idiots.
Did anybody
God.
ask him, like, Durant seems completely
What's wrong with
unhappy there and inconsolable. What's your plan? He's like, oh, he's not.
We've got a great plan, Adam.
He's got a great plan.
I love the idea. I love
Great
the idea.
people working here.
You just like literally
A lot of
crash.
smart people.
You crash into the side of the mountain. Everyone's like, should we pull up higher? You're like, I think it works pretty well. Okay. I think we got it figured out over here.
We have great leaders.
Yeah.
That's actually a quote he just said.
Dude, I'm so sorry, Phoenix. I'm so sorry, Phoenix.
Oh my god, I just got logged out of my account. Kale, bring up the next one. Why does Google Doc you know you have to open passwords?
I know. Leave
Just
me signed
now
in.
it happened.
Leave me signed in. All right, fill in the blank. The bench is going to be blank in this series, Harrison.
That's the right answer. The bench is going to be in the
Yeah,
series.
that's about right.
Yeah.
I think it's probably going to be about the same as it was last series. And next series, it's probably going to be about the same. And the next series, it's probably going to be about the same.
That's to say unreliable, but so seldomly used that it hardly is detectable.
But if you remember in games 1 and 2,
With
the bench
moments.
was pretty much even. So they were good enough
Yep.
in those first couple games of the series. I think that's how the second unit's going to be. It's going to be up and down. There are going to be some good moments. There are going to be some bad moments. Anthony Edwards, will go at the second unit. They'll probably hold up sometimes. They'll probably give up a 10-0 run at some point in this series as well. So I think it's going to be about the same.
Do
Yeah.
any teams in baseball play their ace pitchers an extra inning or two, and then their relievers an extra inning or two, and it's those the filler
They're doing
guy
the
that-
playoffs.
So
Playoffs,
maybe
yeah.
is that the Nuggets? Then the Nuggets, they're just going to
Yeah,
play
you
their
manage
starting
your-
pitcher a little bit more.
You manage
bring
your-
the reliever in a little early.
You manage your pitching staff completely different in the playoffs.
Maybe that's not-
You guys have the wrong sport, but I like where your head's at.
I
it's
think
basketball. this
Yeah.
time.
Yeah. But
I feel the answer is good but inconsistent.
Yeah.
We had moments of getting exactly what we needed from an seemingly unexpected source. We had a 3 that was knocked down by Peyton Watson. We had big blocks. We had a Christian Brown game. We had a couple of Reggie. I mean, they're going to do good things. They're like, the moment's not too big for them, but it's too big for their ultimate form.
Yeah.
They're just young, but they got the moxie and the what have you. They'll give us you good stuff. It's just like you can't rely on them.
Yeah. I think the bench is going to be needed, and it's not every night. But I do think the bench is going to have to give us 2 games in the next series that were better than any of the games they gave us in round 1. That's not to say guys didn't give us moments. Reggie gave us a moment. Peyton gave us a moment. Guys, even Christian gave us a moment. The dunk on Gobert, and a couple dunks in a row in game 1. They all had their moments. But I think that the bench is going to need more moments or more complete games than they had at any point. In large part because 2 games in a row, Saturday and then Monday, you get a nice break. After that, every other day, write that one out. And I just think that's going to be a taxing, I don't think this gets done in 5. I mean, it's possible, but anything north of that fatigue is going to play a factor.
And not that it's necessarily a direct 1-to-1 like this, but the Wolves have the 6th man of the year. Like, you're talking about a team that has a not just great, but theoretically and quite arguably the best option off the bench right now, at least of the playoff teams remaining, and especially once Malik Monk went down, Naz Reid just was that guy. So is that guy. And, Denver doesn't have a weapon off the bench right now. They have tools. They have skill sets. They can build
Just call
lineups.
Peyton Watson a tool.
They have players that have tools, physical tools, defensive tools, but they don't have like a weapon unless Reggie gets hot. And that's so I think part of it is they've just got to be really, really crisp when they're out there. The defense has to be good. And I think at home, they can't be afraid to do what Peyton Watson did in game 5. Open corner 3 in front of your bench.
What a shot.
Take it.
Yeah.
You got to make them at home. It's a lot to ask on the road for these role players, but at home, Christian and Peyton, if they're open, they got to shoot, they got to hit it.
Yeah.
The next one, Kale. The Nuggets' biggest advantage in the series will be.
Oh my
Blank.
God. I mean, this is like the who's going to eat segment. It's Jokic.
So you think Jokic is the big advantage?
I mean, yeah, I would say. Yeah, that sounds about right.
Well, I will say this. I'm kind of surprised by you because Gobert is not a scrub, even though Jokic obviously has solved him. I mean, he solved Anthony Davis, but Anthony Davis made him work this year. I kind of feel similarly about Gobert, where I'm like, Jokic is awesome, and he has solved that, but it's not like he's turned him into, nobody.
Brother, I have 47. It's his most famous quote. He has made absolute mincemeat out of him. Once he figures out how Gobert is playing him in any given series, he's going to hit a shot over him. You're going to get like a block or two, and you're going to be like, oh, man, maybe Gobert's figure, and then Jokic's going to murder him.
Do you think Jokic is less worried about playing Anthony Davis or Rudy Gobert? I think it's Gobert.
The thing is, guys.
Less? Yeah, for sure.
Because he can juke the shit out of him.
But guys, there are going to be some matchups in fourth quarters and stuff, but Karl Anthony Towns is going to guard Jokic, and Rudy Gobert will be the roamer off of Aaron Gordon.
Don't.
That might be the Nuggets' biggest
That's going to happen.
advantage in the series.
They're going to do so much shit.
I know. I'm just saying, like,
I think it'll primarily be what you're saying.
So it's I'm just saying it's a little different than what Anthony Davis eventually
With the same results.
accepted, if not demanded, which was like one-on-one versus Jokic. Like, I don't know how much you're going to see that, because what's different now, Utah kind of figured it out with Derek Favors, but Minnesota can do it to a much better degree.
Well, also, Jokic figured it out back in those days.
Strong
on the
agree.
team.
So, to be very clear, I still think that D-line is right that Jokic is the difference.
Here's the thing: if Denver advances and they play the Thunder, I'm like, that's the series where I'm like, Jokic's going to score 50 a game.
That might be the 100-point game.
That might be the 100-point
Yeah.
game. But if you
Can't
tell me
wait.
that, but in this next one, I think he is going to win that matchup, but it will be a challenge. And that's why I don't know if I would put it here. Here's what I think is the biggest advantage: clutch time offense, and really clutch time defense as well. Denver was number 1 in the clutch in the regular season. The Timberwolves were 27th. This is a series where I think Denver needs to get off to hot starts. Minnesota also hasn't been known for hot starts. Denver needs to get off to a hot start, and they need to close with a hammer, because I think you need to put, and I think they're capable of putting that fear in them of like, it doesn't matter. We're up. If there's a game early, Denver wins by 20. That's a great message. But if there's a game where it's tied going into the final 5 minutes and it looks exactly like the Wolves would fear, which is that they don't know what they're doing and Denver does, I think that would almost send an even bigger message than blowing them out. It'd be like, damn, man, we need to be up 10 going into clutch time against this team, because they are better. That's where they're way better than us.
I agree. That's mine. It's championship experience. It's championship pedigree. It's chemistry. It's the history. It's the battles that these guys have fought together, and it's all the close games in the playoffs that they've won together. Did you know that Anthony Edwards against the Nuggets this year is shooting 1 of 10 in fourth quarters?
Yeah, that's what I was getting at.
That's what he did in FIBA also.
Now, a couple of those games, the Wolves were up big, and the Nuggets came back, and, Minnesota didn't necessarily, they weren't putting the pressure on themselves to score, but he's shooting 1 of 10 in fourth quarters versus the Nuggets this season. Denver just played a bunch of clutch games against the Lakers in this first round. Minnesota played a total of 3 clutch minutes in round 1. That was all in game 5, I believe. And they weren't really tested in that way by Phoenix.
Right.
The Suns did not test them in the clutch, in those grinded out possessions in the same way that the Nuggets do, because I guarantee you there will be some close games in this series. I don't feel like the Nuggets have as much blowout potential in them as they did in last year's playoffs, but the Nuggets' experience in the clutch, in close games, it could decide the series.
I have a very similar version of an advantage, and it's their experience in the playoffs, in tight games. They've been to game 7s. They've won them. They've lost them. I said this yesterday, but the Wolves are good enough, and they match up well enough to be in this series. So sometimes the difference makers are these little well, first of all, Denver is the best player in the series. That's a good start. But for me, why I would pick Denver, if you're telling me this is a 6 or 7 game series, Denver has been in more of those, and they have home court. And it's not that I think the Wolves will suddenly forget how to play basketball. I just don't. Denver's been in more tight series where the Wolves' tightest series together so far was a 5-game loss. Now, that's a credit to them in part because they destroyed Phoenix. Good on them. But there's just something, too, to being through so many battles together that as you go, man, plan A didn't work, plan B didn't work, we didn't get that game that we wanted, we didn't get that Denver has all of those sort of mental advantages, at least on paper, because they've been here before.
Yeah. All right, the Wolves' biggest advantage is blank.
The Wolves'
I'll go
biggest
first here,
advantage.
but length on Murray to me is the biggest one. He's averaging 17 points per game in the 3 games he played against Minnesota this year. And that's regular season Jamal. But to me, this is probably, outside of maybe Boston, this is the most length and defense a team will be able to throw on Murray. He will never have a rest. He will always be guarding an elite defender or trying to score against an elite defender. And I just think that is an advantage, man. Like Murray already on tired legs. This is going to be one that physically pushes him to his limit because he's going to be exhausted, I think, because they're going to make him exhausted.
Yeah. For me, like I just take it in even broader terms and just say defense. Like their defense is really like where they hang their hat. They have, that's why Anthony Edwards can stand out as much as he does because it's such a defensively minded squad and he's such a wild card and so plays in a different style than the rest of them, but it's complementary in a strange way. Those two big guys, I mean, they just have length absolutely everywhere. They're just such a big team. Like Tim Connolly really put a premium on that when he was bringing players in. Like you've got like Slow-Mo, who's huge. I mean, he's not that he's a massive defender, but I'm saying like even their tertiary, guys down the bench, like they're all big.
You could say this of either side, but if Gobert or McDaniels get in foul trouble, and McDaniels in particular is very prone to foul trouble, Gobert against Jokic can be prone to foul trouble, I think that they fall apart. It's the same you could say for Murray and Jokic. If one of those two gets in foul trouble or hurt, then Denver's screwed. But I think that the Wolves have two guys that you could like. If Jokic drew 2 fouls on Rudy in the first quarter, the odds tilt in Denver's favor so much because it throws off. That anchors what they're capable to do. And if you have to put Slow-Mo out there, that they have a worse. They like to be able to go to him. That's not an option for them in this series.
But probably Naz Reid draws that assignment or something. Like,
but they didn't like trying to. Naz Reid's not a good defender.
I mean, it puts him in a bad spot. Like regardless, it's just like. But every one of those guys, like God, that guy's fucking huge too. Like everyone's huge.
Minnesota's biggest advantage is depth.
Yeah,
they have a good bench. Nickeil Alexander-Walker off the bench, the 6th man of the year, Naz Reid. They're going to stagger Towns with the second unit. I don't know how Denver's going to be able to rebound off the bench playing against him and Naz Reid.
Big storyline.
Massive. Monte Morris, backup point guard. They got guys. They have a much deeper team than the Nuggets.
I agree. I was just going to say Naz Reid. Although so far, Kyle Anderson's role in this series has been check in for 5 minutes and try not to get murdered by Jokic while you commit 3 fouls.
And fail.
In this matchup, I should say, not series. And fail. But yes, he is a good player, to your point. I agree. So is Monte. We know he's better than a lot of end-of-rotation guys. Nickeil Alexander-Walker and Naz Reid are weapons. Denver has good players off the bench, but neither of them are yet a weapon. So that's their advantage.
All right, let's take a break. On the other side, we'll wrap up the show with a couple other loose predictions. And we'll also ask a question J.R. Smith asks.
Oh no, are we really?
On the other side.
This could go a lot
in
of
the
different
meantime, hop in the
directions.
Toyota chat. Let us know what you're thinking. We'll check those during the break.
Breckenridge Brewery is the official craft beer of DNVR. Check out their new West Coast style IPA, the Ridge Runner.
Now I'd love to pub pass that if I may.
You probably can. This double dry hop brew is inspired by the untamed beauty of Colorado's trails. Hop back infused with whole cone hops and a double dose of Citra lupulin powder. Creates notes of bright citrus and pine. I don't know what that means.
I love pine.
But I'm sure it tastes good.
Dude, the world
Ponderosa pine?
The world of alcohol is so strange, isn't it? You like things that aren't food, but they're good.
They are good, yeah.
You're like, oh, that sounds good in a
Like
beer.
if you showed up, you're like, hey man,
mahogany.
You're like, hey, you want to have dinner for me? I made mahogany and pine.
Yeah.
Like, oh.
Eat up.
What? No, this water's been just sitting in an old
Yeah,
wooden
but it's
barrel
like,
for
but
years.
then as alcohol, it's incredible.
Yeah.
Delicious. Unbelievable.
Makes no sense.
Dude, a nice... Oh, man, that sounds so good. What was the name of it again?
The Ridge Runner.
I'm in.
Ridge Runner.
It's a
while
West Coast style IPA.
While you're camping out
Holy
amongst the pines.
smokes.
Ugh.
real
Holy
earthy
smoke.
feel to
You
it.
become, you
I
become,
can't wait. It's
you
almost
become,
camping season, Kale.
You become one with the overpopulated campground.
Breckenridge Brewery, the official craft beer of DNVR.
Man, beer sounds so good
I
right
That
now.
know.
was such a vibe. I know. That was the best ad read ever. I'm jonesing for this right now.
Well, I know a spot. I think it's the go-to spot for burritos, buddies, and beer, fellas.
I can't even guess.
We could head over to Illegal Pete's down the street, and if you're in the Springs,
Holy smokes.
so can you. You now have a friend in the burrito business. Illegal Pete's Colorado Springs is open, folks. Swing by and join
Oh,
the festivities
Man, is that the first one?
with live music, endless
Springs.
margaritas,
I think
and
so.
of course, all your favorite
Whoa.
burrito fixins. located in the heart of downtown Colorado Springs. Stop by to be a part of this historical Illegal Pete's moment. Illegal Pete's, it's your spot for burritos, buddy, and beers.
Man, our man Pete is spreading his wings. That's awesome.
I got to get back to
You're so
Legal
lucky.
Pete's and catch up with him.
You're so lucky.
The fella, I
Springs.
want to say his name is Cole, that we met outside of the Boulder Illegal Pete's with Miroslav. Do you remember? He was at the bar for,
hell
for the
yeah.
last game. So
That's
shout
awesome,
out.
man.
I think it's Cole. If you're listening, shout out.
That's awesome. What up, Cole? Back here, final segment, DNVR Nuggets Podcast. We are close in the Toyota studio, as we always are. You're hopping in the Toyota chat. The Toyota Lounge, driven by your Front Range Toyota stores. Toyota, the official vehicle of DNVR. All right, last segment here. We talked about it. The bench and Naz Reid in particular. So Naz Reid and Jaden McDaniels not with the team last year for the series. Obviously, huge pieces. But Naz Reid, the Naz Reid part in particular is interesting because I think that Aaron Gordon has a very weird assignment. Last round, it was very obvious. You got to guard LeBron James. That's an obvious assignment. And then there was you got to guard Anthony Davis for a while. You got to do this other stuff. This one, the primary assignment, Karl Anthony Towns, it might be the guy that has to guard Anthony Edwards by the midpoint of the season. He's just switching out into there. But then, who's the backup center if they're going to bring in Naz Reid and Karl Anthony Towns? Denver, even if you play Aaron Gordon, that can be tricky. So I look at this and I go, Aaron Gordon has too many jobs that are for him, and there's no secondary guy. And I think that's a storyline here as well.
I see a lot of myself in Aaron Gordon.
Yeah, I do too.
He's gonna have to have a big series, no doubt. He's gonna have to be a beast on the boards. He absolutely cannot get in foul trouble.
Oh, Denver's screwed.
If you thought that was a death sentence against the Lakers,
Good
and
call.
it almost was in game one,
Good call.
it's going to be a death sentence against Minnesota. Like, they cannot survive Aaron Gordon in foul trouble in this game. Is there a chance DeAndre Jordan plays in this series?
Well, I was going to ask the
Definitely.
question for Zeke Naji. I don't think DeAndre...
I'll say no on that.
Well, DeAndre Jordan is a terrible matchup for him. He's
I
not
know.
good for a pick and pop player. Naz Reid and Karl Anthony Towns are both pick and pop. That's his. He doesn't even try.
He'll get Gobert.
No, I think you'd play Aaron Gordon with the bench this whole series,
But you might need two. I'm saying your bench is going to be Karl Anthony Towns and Naz Reid.
right.
But then you put...
Michael Porter
Can-
and
Who does Peyton play up on?
No, he's going to get time with the starters. He's going to draw Gobert from time
It's
to
like
time.
Michael Malone's trust in Zeke
DeAndre
Naji
Jordan.
is so low.
With
I just
Jokic?
have a hard time seeing that even being a realistic option. But I don't know. Maybe.
No, they won't be there, but they will. They'll try that at some point. I'm sure.
So who's Jokic guarding?
Cat?
I don't think that's a good matchup for Jokic either.
I mean, it's better than. I mean, just Gobert. DeAndre Jordan specifically matches up with Gobert. Gobert is better than he is, but at least it's like that big body thing. Like at a certain point, you just need like a big body to stand in and just be in the way.
Yeah, that's a
Zeke
good,
Naji, DeAndre, or neither?
neither. But then who is Peyton and/or Porter sort of playing up on defensively? Because neither of them are well equipped on paper, I think, to guard Naz or Cat. I guess you'd just try Peyton. And
I
it's-
think they go DJ. I think DeAndre Jordan gets a cup of coffee this series.
Yeah, definitely.
like a yeah. All right.
I
Kinda
don't
like
feel
he
good
did
about
last
this at
series.
all.
I don't feel good about
It'll just happen. There's going to be a
He's
lot
going to
of
be out there, and it's like we just got to survive for 2 minutes right now.
There's going to be a
3
lot of
minutes.
adjustments in this series.
Jeff Green last season, plus 11, plus 15, plus 4, plus 3, plus 2. A positive in every single game. And again, it's not that Jeff Green was awesome. He was an appropriate size. And I think
Exactly.
that's part of it. And
Exactly
Denver doesn't
right.
have a guy that's the appropriate size.
Well, it
Zeke
would
Naji-
be Zeke Naji, but
I honestly think Zeke Naji gets a try in this series. I don't know when.
That's
But he might get
crazy.
that
I mean,
too.
like not that you're wrong.
Some
just
of it is foul related.
Could be.
what
Just
you're
like their foul
saying
troubles,
makes
you have to
sense.
put him out there.
But the notion of Zeke Naji playing to me is crazy.
I don't think DeAndre Jordan can guard Gobert either because Gobert is not a guy you throw the ball to. Then he could guard him.
I don't-
Gobert is a guy that you run a pick and roll with.
Well, don't-
I mean, Zeke Naji has no prayer. In
Yeah, but
stopping
like,
that.
don't misunderstand what I'm saying. Like, I don't think it's a great option, but it is a thing that I think that they would probably have to turn to.
If
at
DeAndre
some-
Jordan has to guard Rudy Gobert, I think that's passable.
I mean, for like a little bit
minute,
of
a
time,
minute here, a minute there.
one cup of coffee.
I don't think Zeke Naji guarding Rudy
Kale,
Gobert
give
is
me a
passable.
cup of coffee. Oh,
I'm trying to look to see if he played. He only played once against Minnesota this year. He played 10 minutes, was a -6. Did have 11 points and 7 rebounds in 10 minutes, which is kind of wild production.
By the way, on a related note, while we're here, Denver kind of did do an 8.5-man rotation in round one.
Totally.
With, speaking of cups of coffee, Justin Holiday grabbing a couple.
Shooter.
Also spilling a couple, I'm not going to lie.
Yeah, he didn't. He's really drunk.
So do you guys, I don't know if this is particularly consequential, but do you think this rotation shrinks at all?
Yes.
No?
I
You
don't
think so?
I think they start the series same kind of
Same
way.
as all.
Huh. I just feel like we're going to get shorter and shorter benches as the series goes on. And you do find yourself asking questions like, man, do we really want to put DeAndre Jordan out there? You're like, why don't we put Aaron Gordon?
Man, interestingly enough, Zeke Naji also only played one game in the series, and he was a -6 in 18 minutes, had 9 points, 5 rebounds, and 2 blocks randomly.
Oh, hell yeah, dude.
So both guys barely
of
played
course.
in one game, barely played. Both kind of had similar stat lines. Take that for what it's worth. I think one of those guys is going to end up having to play out of necessity just for size purposes, but maybe P-Watt. Maybe they don't. Maybe they just go Holiday and P-Watt, play undersized, and try to shoot them out of the gym. Entire possibility.
I think no matter how you slice it, the starters have to dominate because it's just an uphill.
Oh, yeah.
It's an uphill off Jokic minutes battle.
Last what I have for this, and then we'll move on to a fun question. The Nuggets get a favorable whistle in the series, or what's the whistle look like in the series?
I don't think it's a
There's just
storyline.
no fouls called at all.
You joke. I honestly think that's
Yeah.
the
Not
right
joking.
answer.
I think it ends
Not
up being not a
joking at all.
storyline because
It's going to be a
I think-
physical.
but I think it's a storyline. In that it's just an incredibly physical series that they're like, man, they are allowing everything
but
both
I think,
ways.
but I think that it's a storyline in the Lakers because people are crying about fouls later. I think out of the first game or so, we're like, okay, and then it's not a storyline in that it's not affecting the gameplay. It's just it's just like they're not inserting themselves. Like you don't target them as a
But
reason.
Jokic's can be affected by nothing bothers him more than when he feels he is being
True.
like they're allowing a lot of contact. And I think this is a series where they're going to allow a lot of contact. And
Could be.
his approach to that will be important. And I think he'll have a good approach to it, honestly. It's the playoffs.
He's used to it.
But I think that'll be a storyline.
Yeah, I think on one hand you could argue more physical series is advantage Wolves because of the personnel. On the other hand, I think this stuff generally doesn't hurt Denver because they're used to it and because Jokic is used to it. And I think he went through that transformation over the years, especially playing without Jamal Murray, of learning that me being right about not getting this call doesn't sort of trump, like there's still what's left to do in front of us.
Yeah.
And that is the controllable factor, not the refs. And I just think he's gotten better at that.
Yeah.
The last one, and I don't know, Kale, if you pulled this up. I didn't send you the link, but it was on the sheet. The J.R. Smith question about, he put this out there. We all know all those Nuggets from 09 hate George Karl.
Yeah.
So they love to rib him. J.R. Smith pondered the other day, we would have won a championship. The 09 Nuggets would have won a championship if we would have had Malone as the coach.
What a timeline we're in.
What a timeline that we're in that this is happening.
Do you
And
think they're talking about this on their group chat?
it's possible, man? They hated
Melo
George.
brought it up first.
Fair or foul? What do we think here? Let's entertain it.
I don't think so. I don't think so. They had we love them, but they had some issues, like talent wise, that were
They were so close.
They were very close, but ultimately Kobe was better than Melo.
Yeah.
Like ultimately, like all of their players were a little bit better than our players, and they had different versions of our players that were like Bynum at that point was a better Birdman. Like there's just like was better. They were just kind of better down the line.
Don't you think it's that 09 team though was kind of an anti-George Karl team, which is part of what's so funny.
Right.
You know what I mean?
Well,
like
now
the
it's
2013 team was a pure George Karl, and I even
Now
think
it's
this
a
team is.
very anti-George Karl team. Every player hates him.
Well, 2009, yeah. But I think George might have actually loved this team. I mean, George was an out-of-the-box coach, and I think this quirky team, he would have been like, "Oh, I'm all into it." What do you think? Do you have a take on this?
I don't know. I don't remember like what buttons he was pushing in those series.
There's just like the stuff where you look back, you're like the inbounds play.
Right.
Would you have had him?
The Nuggets haven't been drawing up very good inbounds plays lately either.
Did that feel like a series
That's why they haven't
where,
been calling timeout.
because I've been reflecting on this, watching New York and now this Lakers series. Sometimes you can go, man, if XYZ went our way, that series goes our way. And then sometimes from the outside, it's a lot easier to be like, you were never winning that series.
Totally, exactly.
But where do you think that Nuggets
exactly
team
what
is
it
in
is.
that series?
It might have been
That's exactly
that.
that's exactly what it is.
I-
we were close to stealing it.
I think I would put it as. I think that series reminds me a lot of the Nuggets Sun series. I mean, the Nuggets got killed in Game 6 of that series, but there were enough moments that you could point to where you could say, man, if they would have made 1 or 2 more shots here, or this or that.
Right.
But at the same time, they'd already made a lot of those shots, so you're expecting them to be even more.
Sure.
I'm sure in J.R. Smith's mind, he's like, Malone would have played me more.
That is true. Everybody that had to play the coach.
Be getting Julian Strothered.
I wish I would have had that coach. He would have seen all my good things and none of my faults.
J.R.
Total.
Smith's like, Reggie Jackson played how many games?
Actually, J.R. Smith would have been just traded to the Clippers. Actually.
That's totally
For a
true.
second-round pick.
All right, that does it for today. You can hit that outro music, Kale. We got some super chats.
Aki Kaki. Hello, happy guys. Mr. D-Line's Kenzo statue basketball makes Jokic's cardboard cutout have an eye snot from this camera angle. Can your set designer change it? Is that what you did over there, Kel? Your
Like
eyes
he
are-
was picking his own nose. That's
and it
great.
did. I looked up. It did. So that was a good adjustment, Kel.
Good note.
Good note. Aki.
Aki
Thank
Kaki.
you.
Alyssa.
Way to make the
Freaking Alyssa.
podcast adjustment.
Wilson the Ghost. Ant is an iPad kid. Cat kisses his reflection in the mirror.
A-Rod did that once.
And Gobert is still coughing
Literally.
from COVID. Nugs in
boy.
5.
Man, there was a lot of shade in there.
So Wilson the Ghost is going to hate all the Timberwolves by the end
Yeah,
of this
he
series.
has his picked out.
He went Kendrick Lamar on everybody's ass there.
He sure did. Speaking of which, Cat kind of reminds me of Drake. I'll just leave that there and move on. What else do
I
we
could
got?
definitely see him wearing
That's a good call.
Yeah, there's like a little of a personality comp there.
call.
Cedric Exquisite. I give it 6 games. We win 2, they win 2, but we win the last 2. We will win. Eyeball emoji, championship trophy emoji. Vote, don't take this one so serious.
Yeah, dude, what were you taking that one so serious for?
But we talked about this.
Jeez, Vote, what
You
are
guys
you doing?
did reprimand me for getting too serious. Vote equals KCP. D-line equals Yoke. Wind equals AG.
There you go. That's perfect. Nailed it.
PS, wait. You guys are like Nuggets starting 5. Hashtag stay on parade.
Stay on parade.
That one
Adam
feels
has
great.
no role. Isn't that wild?
Yeah.
I'm Reggie Jackson over here. Is that it? Alrighty. That does it for our Wednesday edition. We are back tomorrow.
Yeah, dude. Actually, let's leave our
Let's
friends
go.
with one thing. We can play it and we can sign out.
Okay.
Oh, what's this?
I have found a collection of my finest TikTok Laker fan reactions to various points of the series. Let's watch I think the best one I think is after game 2. It's during game 2, so you can go forward a little bit on it to like.
Which one? You gotta give me an account.
Let me see here. Hold on here. It's Laker
Lakers
fan
Guru,
reacts to
420.
Nuggets game 2. Let me see here. Sorry.
By the way, I'll be revealing my series pick on the show tomorrow.
Oh yeah, dude. We all have to do it.
Yeah, stay tuned.
20-point lead for
Tomorrow, 3:15, my series pick will be in.
Yeah, I think so. Any of them. I mean, they're all delicious in their own way. Just
Greetings
like
from
we can
Serbia.
leave out with this. We can go out with this. Sorry.
you want me to play.
Just push
Who's
play.
going to draft Bronny?
In this one, so this is good. All right, D'Angelo Russell.
So he goes. It's like the last part of the game, so you could just like let it play for a little while.
It's not, wait, sorry guys, our system is not letting me.
We're going to
No.
need the sound.
All right. Well, then forget that. We'll do it later. We'll figure it out. We'll do it live.
Problem.
So Bronny James, there's
All right. See you, everybody.
Okay, see everyone. Bye.
See you guys.
I literally don't know.
Write something.
Matt,
We all silly like the mayor.